Hello, good evening. This is Jason Grant, CEO of Integral, and today I'm joined exclusively by PressCoin ICO co-founder Amit Rathore, who has kindly joined me to discuss his ICO. And we are going to find out what this is all about and how disruptive this technology is and what they have to offer. So without further ado, Amit, please introduce yourself and the purpose and the mission behind PressCoin, what it's about, why are you doing this?
Sure. So, yeah, I'm Amit. I have recently, rather when I say recently, the last 4 or 5 years, been very neck deep in the news industry, particularly monetizing news, helping publishers, figure out what to do in this new post-Facebook world. And from that has come a series of abstractions, in a sense, that fundamentally address the nature of the problem that we are living today. And that is that news as we know it has fundamentally lost its meaning, because we have ourselves, to a certain degree, forgotten what news means and what conversation, gossip, and so many other things mean. So we start there with what news is, and we go back to that basics, and we create a new world that simply addresses this human need for reliable information and discourse and connectedness and understanding and then connected action. So we're trying to build a new world that just focuses on that and less about the news ecosystem as it is per se, or how to solve fake news per se, or any of those things. We just are building a new media ecosystem that we believe has that needs to be created now, because the old one has just diffused into something that isn't working anymore.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty noble aim and a very big use case to cover and target, especially with the blockchain side of things. So tell me a little bit about your team and who is the target audience for your particular offering.
Sure. So let me then just take a slight digression to the previous startup that I just am hot off the sort of presses off of, right? It's called Quintype. And that's the one I was mentioning, which addresses the need for a modern technology stack for publishing. Because publishing today is omni-channel. It's wherever your audiences are, right? I mean, is it a website, or is it a podcast, or is it a hangout like this, or is it a is it a social channel, or an email thread, or a Siri conversation, or when you're driving a driverless car, or you're sitting inside it, are you not going to be consuming content? So what is publishing has fundamentally changed. And it's not just the transition for media companies from print to, or news companies from print to digital to mobile to social and all that stuff. It's fundamentally disrupted because it's now technology and software driven. And the new internet, so to speak, are the internet anymore. It's not individuals, it's the giant platforms, which, by the way, is fine with me. I love Facebook, I love Google. We're on Google right now. This thing has been tweeted all over, and it's on Facebook as well. So all of these things are fine. It's just, what does it mean for the news industry as we kind of understand it, right? And what does that mean for this new world? If this bridge of technology and this purpose, because we've lost our purpose, right? In the conversations we're having on Facebook and Twitter, and when I don't mean that we've lost it in a wrong way. It's just that these are general purpose platforms that have no specific purpose. They're general purpose, right? So when you have general purpose platforms and you talk about them as being your news sources,
yeah, because even Lonnie, I mean, he can hardly sort of say his name.
Is there like a, yeah, there you go. Thank you. So that's what I'm talking about. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. But, so that's what Quintype set out to do, which is how do you monetize something that has a specific purpose? Because you have to first make the news people realize, for example, that you're not in the business of news if you're selling advertising. because then you're in the business of selling attention. Unless somebody is paying you for your news content, you're not in the business of news, right? So this is a fundamental reality. So the whole ecosystem, the technology stack, the systems, all of that has to be put in place to bring back monetization for something that you're actually going to sell. Because if you're trying to sell attention, which is what every news company is trying to do with advertising and so on, if you're trying to sell attention, which is, hey, I have people on my website or, whatever it is, and I can show them advertising. If you're selling attention, then you're in the business that Facebook and Google is also in. You're competing head on with those guys. And me as a brand, I don't need news publishers to reach people anymore. As a brand, you and I both know we go to Facebook and Google and Twitter. We've been talking about it all the time. So it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the new world. But you have to adapt to it and understand clearly where your money is coming from. So that once you understand this recognition, then you can build something that actually serves your audience, something more than what you get for free on Facebook. Right? Because otherwise, how will you make money? What is your offering? Right? You don't have an offering if you just have what I call the top of the funnel, which is content. Content brings people into the top of your funnel as a business. But you as a news company, if you don't have anything in the middle, then you're just trying to sell advertising. There's nothing there.
Absolutely.
So this is what we set out to do, and created that entire platform that lets any publisher create this community, this complete end-to-end, seamless, integrated community around a particular thing, and have commerce happen and monetize the actual organic value that comes from this, right? And now this is being applied to the news industry at scale with PressCoin, creating another set of abstractions on top of this ecosystem.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your team. So far I've spoken to about 5 ICO founders, and I was astounded by the quality of the team members that were there, advisors from all sorts of powerful positions. Tell us a little bit about your founding team.
Sure. So this whole thing sort of coalesced around one of our interests in this sort of new media space, a person who lives in the UK by the name of Nafeez Ahmad, Dr. Nafeez Ahmad, and ran and runs still a publication on Medium, which is called Insurge Intelligence. And, it just has a very sort of, back to basics approach, which is, so here's what I believe about today's news media, right? When we hear the term fake news media all the time, what does that mean, right? If you just pay attention, to me, it might mean so many things in so many political contexts and all of that, but I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about, though, is news media is meant to be something, right? News media is meant to be about important matters. That's why it's called news media, as opposed to entertainment media and media as a whole, right? News media is supposed to qualify that. So if fake news media is just the news media that is attempting to be news media, but it isn't. Okay, so that's what's going on today. We're all, the attention is around things that don't matter, because we, constantly are being, that's on Facebook and all these other places, right? So where is the place for actually going to understand issues that do matter? Where is that platform? If I were to ask you today, in the face of Facebook and Google and Twitter and so many ways to, and these platforms, there's so many platforms, what would you say is the platform to understand news?
I'm thinking. I mean, I tend to just consume my news from all sorts of different sources at the moment, and it's become very tricky to work out what is real and what's not real. And a number of times I've fallen prey to sort of retweeting or sharing something that was completely fake, but I was convinced that it was real. It took me a while to actually even understand that those kind of news thump websites that are just pure satire about news. Originally I thought those were real because they're written in such a way that it could be real.
So that's the thing. So there is no single platform to go for news. You have to go to 1,000 places if you want to, or if you even care, or if you even realize that there's something wrong, etc. Right? Even if you're a seeker of understanding, there is no place so you can go for it. A single place where people are congregating to understand things. They're congregating to find commonality and a way to collaborate with each other, to actually take constructive action. That platform, you can go to Yelp if you want to, find out about restaurants. You can go to, OpenTable and book it. And you can, take pictures on Instagram, and you can talk about it on Facebook. But where is the platform for me to go and understand news and connect with people like you and sort of do things about our planet? Where is that platform?
So the closest thing I know of that perhaps is a little bit like that, and I think that product has changed a lot over the years, and I've been using it for quite some time, is Google News. That tends to sort of aggregate things, but it aggregates things from all sorts of just like kind of hand-picked resources. So I just always feel like, even when I'm using that, I feel like I'm missing out, really, because somehow things are being filtered and all these kind of filter bubbles happen on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere, really.
Yes. So imagine a new platform that was powered by people, okay, a moderated community, not open like Twitter or Facebook or things like that. You have to get in, you have to be moderated, you have to be allowed in, and every action of being allowed, not allowed, every single interaction is transparent. So it's not that there's some secret, mafia behind it or anything like that. But it's an open, transparent platform that lets you find civilized interaction amongst its members and around specific topics like understanding news. And the way I looked at InSurge when we first, came across InSurge was, this is a new way to really forget about the attention-grabbing news headlines, but now going to just things that actually are news media related, should be news media related, right? And so just back to basics on climate and things like food and energy and things like that matter every day to us. Not so much as what's going on in all the places around I don't even want to talk about which politics shall I pick. I mean, it's just too many options. Which country shall we talk about, right? So I'm not even going to go there. Rather, let's just talk about going to a place where we're discussing the things that matter. Forget about all this, and it has to be opt-in. So we also let people in, and everyone sees everyone else. And in this transparent world and reputation-driven world, we then create a consensus around what we and how we understand the world. So it's a Euclidean information model, that is different from, let's say, Medium, for instance, or any platform that people can use to, say, report on what's going on in Hollywood. Very simple, two-dimensional, stories. Okay, something happened, right? That's news. So you can write that on Medium. It's very flat, unidimensional. But if you want to talk about the geopolitics of Syria, that's not going to be that simple on a two-dimensional, sort of interface. So you need a more interesting way to represent knowledge and understanding so that you can then allow people who are seeking that understanding to navigate these issues and understand that it's not one thing. And it's not just that, clean coal is going to solve something or whatever it is, right? It might in one way, but it's got other effects. And, and that's how you understand. And it's not just me saying it. It's all these people saying it, and it's how these people are saying it, and how the statistics around these facts are, and what these axioms are, whether they're observable facts or not. And this is how you construct understanding, and it's all on the blockchain. And the value that's created here is shared by the whole ecosystem, and it's led in the beginning by people like Nafeez Ahmed, not by me, because I'm the one part of this ecosystem. I can tell you what it is, but I'm not the expert in any of the things I talked about. But there are other people who are, and they can come on board, like Nafeez and others, and so many like him, as you've said on our team. You've seen a lot of people. So each of them is coming on board because they see what this platform can become for everybody, not just one point of view.
Okay, so talk to me more about how this is going to work, like end to end. You know, I come from user experience design background, and we talk about a customer journey through the platform from beginning to the end. So, you know, someone starts the interaction, you know, does all the good things and sort of has some sort of outcome at the end. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, sure. So for instance, take the example of, InSearch. It's just, InSearch is built around a set of domains, right? And these domains are, what we sort of considered as a seed domains, because you can certainly create new ones, right? And these domains are climate and energy and whatever, the main important things that we face today, politics and around these domains are these set of axioms, things that are observable and not, they're not up for debate. For example, they don't have opinion in there at all. There's no opinion in there. For example, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases temperature. It's an observation. Okay, there's no opinion in there, and we can still vote for it in the sense that everyone can agree that that's true. Okay, and it's an axiom. And there's lots of such axioms. That's what Euclidean geometry is. Instead of accept them because they're true by our own experience. They don't have to trust anybody else. It's self-evident. When you realize something that is self-evident, then you're satisfied with its, being a base for understanding, because it's self-evident. You don't have to question it, right? You have now understood it. And on this, you begin to create newer insights. These insights are, again, community-driven, right? Oh, you connect the dots and you say, okay, these 5 things sort of maybe lead to this. And again, that's a community. So we're constructing a community of ideas. A human consciousness is being connected around interesting, important issues of today. So we're not addressing, so the end journey. So if I'm my mom enters the, my mom's, wants to know, what's going on with her climate thing. She's interested, so she enters an article that she finds on Facebook. Hey, this is going to be integrated into Facebook and all the other places where she's used to hanging out, right? Let's be real. That's the new normal world. So she finds us there. She enters this place and she sees something interesting. She says, oh, that's interesting. This is built on 3 things called axioms. And it talks about, what I just said. And it's got, 19 million people have actually, put a vote on it saying that, yes, they agree. And there's like, some 100,000 strange people that, somehow seem to disagree that it's not happening. Or whatever it is that, carbon dioxide doesn't increase atmosphere, because apparently they've experienced that somewhere. So, but you can see clearly, and then each person you can see clearly that also has a reputation score. So it's not just 1,000 people versus one person, but one person who's really contributed tremendously to this knowledge economy and the value that came out of it has reputation. So it's a participatory democracy, right? Mm. And all of these interactions, as you can imagine, constitute this democracy, the participation. Every single thing, my mom reads something and she sees something that she likes, etc., interacts with this. And you know what? A brand interacts with her in the process in a meaningful way. Okay? All this value is shared across the ecosystem. And every interaction has an economic value associated with it. And that's how you sort of decentralize the creation and the distribution of it in a more weighted manner compared with platforms that are out there today, which have caused a certain type of media, right?
And so I suppose this is where blockchain then comes into play as a ledger that keeps a log of all of this, and through various kind of smart contracts keeps all the attributions and weightings, and makes sure that this is immutably the case as is. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. And so so the next bit of our model is around, so we talked about purpose, people, systems. The innovation side of things here, is it correct to say that the innovation is about getting people to interact with the system, and then it's like a two-sided model as opposed to one-way street, basically? That's the main kind of crux of the innovative thinking here.
Okay, so there are several pieces of, I think, that are innovative, right? To really address, and you said it earlier, it's a big piece, it's a complex piece. How do you address a complex piece like this? So to imagine a solution for such a complex problem that is facing the human civilization, you have to rethink a few things. Okay, so we have not tried to even address 95% of the population, for example. To begin this solution and to create an alternate, independent, set of islands of sanity where we can all coalesce around specific purposes that we broadly consider important and newsworthy. Those new platforms are only meant for, let's say, on Facebook, you have 3 billion people down the line, 1 in 20 people who are seeking, a common interaction and something more meaningful than Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat or, whatever it is. Something more meaningful in those areas they consider important, like news or elections. Nextelection.com is another project that's right on this, protocol. So what is PressCoin? It's not just one thing. You see, it's actually several things. It's an open, this new set of, platforms, interconnected platforms emerge around a set of specific purposes, each moderated, but on a common blockchain that really manifest in ways that my mom understands. And, she gets, the value from it through cryptocurrency, but also in fiat currency, because she will never understand what I'm talking about when I say Bitcoin, right? But she understands rupees, right? So, and she comes home and she understands dollars, right? Everybody understands normal rupees and dollars and regular currencies. So to really address this new world, you have to be able to play in the fiat world. So, which is why another key component of this new ecosystem is a thing called CoinType, which is a new Swiss bank-powered trading engine that lets you now bring fiat, a common world. And an avatar of this, coin, for example, any cryptocurrency, is the news token. So internally, all of these platforms and people and everything, just the utility of this token is everything we talked about. Brands pay with the news token to buy advertising. You get paid in news token if you're working on this platform. Developers get paid in it. All of it is happening. The new entire ecosystem is happening. This entire new economy, new country is being created where the news token is the currency. And that's the new world. That's the shared services model. So PressCoin is the open protocols, the infrastructure, the shared business services, the shared intelligence services, the shared data services, all the technology pieces, common technology pieces, right? Allowing new things to be hung out of that quickly, faster, quicker, more innovation, a venture arm, a partner network. This is the entire thing that's being put together. You can't just go at it with one thing at a time. That's been tried before. You cannot be reliant entirely on a fundamentally broken business model.
Okay, I understand. So you're effectively making an ecosystem as opposed to a platform. A
currency is for an economy. It is not for a private house or a private shop. It's called a currency, which means it should act like money. So it should act like a country. Right? That's an economy. People don't understand the very basics of currencies today, and they're all over this ICO madness. But if you ask them basic things about even utility, it is shocking how much the experts don't know. So, it's the simplest thing what I said. Of course, a currency is meant for an ecosystem. Yes, it has to affect a large set of people, and it has to be viably transacted across billions and billions and billions of dollars spend hundreds of millions of dollars a day for it to be a viable currency. Otherwise, it's not a currency, it's a reward point on the blockchain where you can trade it perhaps when nobody cares, right?
So, so tell us about the product then. So in terms of like a regular, so I worked on designing a bunch of ecosystems. One of them was for music making by a company called Rolly, which has released a thing called Blocks, and it's a bunch of hardware and software things, and then people can make music and then share it and remix, and there's like a social networking aspect, and we had to design a protocol for that, for all of it to connect together and so on. Now that's sold in Apple stores worldwide. They just recently hired Pharrell Williams as their chief creative officer and so on. So that good design practice of designing protocols, hardware, software, cloud services, the whole lot, and there's sort of community, the interactions around it, very pays huge dividends. So tell me, like, how are you thinking here in terms of the products in the kind of classical sense? You know, in this case, like if your overall offering is this ecosystem of interactions, then which products make up that ecosystem? Is there going to be an app, or is this just going to somehow seamlessly integrated into Facebook, Twitter, whatever? How does it actually work as a product, you know, that like regular people on the street can understand?
Sure. Okay, so, but your analogy for the ecosystem is exactly correct, right? Because you have to be able to play the marketplace in this new economy, right? The currency belongs to the marketplace, right? So news tokens are for the new marketplace for this new media system economy. But you have to show people what this means. You cannot keep on doing what I'm doing, right? So the first few platforms we're going to be built ourselves through this, you know, common set of instructions. We will invest in several companies that are going to build these pieces. This Lego blocks, like you said earlier, blocks, right? It's a perfect analogy, because what you've built is a set of abstractions that can quickly be put together to build new things. But even so, you must show some examples, right? The Lego box comes with an amazing, you know, thing on it and instructions to do that, right? So instructions nobody reads, right? So we will build the things and they can see them and we can use them and my mom can use them. So an example, like I said, is next election. Next election, imagine, and it's coming out soon. In fact, nextelection.com, very interesting. You should check it out. But nextelection.com is imagined down the line to be the sort of Yelp plus Politico plus, you know, something around a more interesting version of Twitter for politics and elections around wherever you are globally. You know, where the elections are coming, local level, state level, global, you know, national level, you know, who's running, what the issues are, what the commentary is, what the ratings are, the people score as these guys are envisioning it, you know, and in real time. And this is a very purposeful, moderated island. It is not the trollable, you know, Twitter, you know. So why try to address, you know, 2-3 billion people at a time when you can just bring that, the new 1%, I call it. You know, let's address the new 1% of people who just want to put this out together, you know, and just sort of be constructive about things, because, you know, that's really the goal.
Okay, so then moving on to, you know, we've covered products now a little bit, and so moving on to the money side of things. You're about to go in and do the ICO soon, and your site is up and running. And the site is up and running, and it's quite impressive in terms of the way you're presenting everything. So tell us a little bit about, in terms of the money side of things, how is this going to work? The whole idea is called PressCoin, which you know, from this sort of name there implies that there is one coin for press and perhaps media. Tell us a little bit about the ICO. What are you offering people? What are you asking of them? How is that going to unravel?
Yes, so like I said, the token itself is called news. Just like Bitcoin is called BTC, the PressCoin has the symbol NEWS, NEWS, and the ICO is actually open. We will be listing, obviously, on our partner exchange when we are done with the ICO process. But we will also be listing on other exchanges. We will be announcing, I want to say in the next 24 hours or 48 hours or so, a very big exchange that we're going to list on as well. So this is very much a real interesting project from a lot of people. So 100 million tokens are being issued, and 25% of the raise, as I said earlier, is being kept for venture on, which means that this is going to run the accelerator program, which will allow new ideas, new projects. This is completely a decentralized economy with all the shared services that I just described and the reference platforms that are being built. Example, next selection, InSurge, the various pieces that if you read online, you'll see. You'll even see some very interesting new things that came out recently, just in the last month or so. Real Newsy, realnewsy.com is a very interesting open newsroom for short, smart takes on what's important. And it's a moderated, editorial newsroom that anyone can join. And you'll see an example of this quick experiment to see how to put these new things together. So that's an example of the use of the token. The rest of it is meant for the existing platforms and people and all the other shared services and the common parts that I was describing. There's a lot of IP here that's going to be very valuable. And each of those pieces, we're thinking about this as an economy, as the Amazon Web Services economy, which means the way to unlock value in all this innovation it's such a big word, like you said earlier. It's such a huge, there's no way to even, you and I to sit down for an hour, we cannot completely cover it. Imagine where we can unlock the value by creating this, way of, new media, you spin out interesting entities and, unlock the value. And you let this be interoperable with the real world. For example, just to give you an example, at launch, Next Election is already talking to existing newspapers that want an interesting elections portal. Everybody covers elections around the world, and they all have a very sort of traditional legacy way of covering it, and it's frankly quite boring. Imagine a more interactive, real-time dashboard that they're really engaging their audiences with. This is a white label product. It's a white label product because it's almost like we are opening up a new economy, and white label means they can use it in a variety of ways in their world. And if they choose to enter our world, which they will, because this is this new island we're talking about, then they have to abide by those the protocols.
Okay.
Right?
And so the system is going to be built on Ethereum platform, or what are you building this on top of?
See, the token right now is an ERC20 token, obviously, so it's an Ethereum token. But what I'm also describing to you is the fact that there will be several blockchains inside this world. For example, NewsChain is just a chain that is going to figure out the source and the aggregation of news sources from around the world, the syndication. High-speed syndication, 8-9 million sources. Right? High-speed syndication on the block. This is a completely separate blockchain because this is a separate use case. It's part of the PressCoin ecosystem. Right? Because a blockchain, you have to understand, is not the same thing as, blockchain is a database. And you have so many users for distributed ledger, and you're going to have more than one in an ecosystem, many for different use cases. As long as they're able to interoperate in the same manner, you're able to understand, the two data sets and so on. That integration layer, that meta layer is required. And so all I'm describing to you is that meta layer. PressCoin is that middle layer that makes this new media ecosystem happen. And the native currency of this new media ecosystem is the news token. So we're talking about that really in the end.
Okay, yeah. So look, I find this fantastic and fascinating insofar that I've spent 10 years of my life doing all sorts of systems thinking, design thinking, user experience design, and really developing services and designing them and making stuff. But now it's like the next phase of complexity and capability, right? So I'm kind of almost sort of contemplating here, sitting and going like, whoa, there's so many possibilities and opportunities. And this is the beauty of the ecosystem world, where it's like a coral reef and you don't know what the next sort of coral that's going to sprout in another place, and you're just kind of like amused and amazed by the beauty and wonderfulness of this kind of richness of diversity. And so actually that just like, I'm going to make a mental note of asking you about something just as we finish the sort of the final bit, which is the growth. How is this going to grow once you complete your ICO and you start building these things and start putting them out? How is it going to grow? You touched on it a little bit in terms of your partnering in with existing news media outlets and so on, but tell us a little bit more about how that's going to just kind of go.
Yes, so we consider this to be a top-down and a bottom-up, designed go-to-market, which is that one side of it is the enterprise side. We have to be able to bring in legacy and existing players because they're all looking for solutions, and we all are looking for solutions, right? We all want this new world to be a better place. So let's all work together and have that, side of the business. And the second side of the business is, as I described earlier, you have to recognize that the new media and media in general has to think and operate like a product, a service that certain set of people are interested in. Because news in general is free on the internet. So if you can create specific reasons for people to come to you, then they will come to you for that reason. Otherwise, they will just read your free articles and leave. So an example of such a funnel is next election, right? Just to give you an example, right? You come to the top of the page, you'll see interesting, whatever that you see today, top of the funnel, right? Articles about, and it's decentralized. Anyone can start a very interesting conversation, a poll-driven conversation or next election. It's a very, very simple launch that they just did. It's a very exciting little thing. But you come in there, but why would you stay? You come into the funnel, why would you stay? Is it because, I want to be monetized more with stupid ads? Is this why I should stay and log into and give you my personalized information also, so you can do more of that? Should I do that? I mean, that's a fundamental question that one has to ask. Why would anybody do that? Right? Because I've been in this market now selling these solutions for a while, and every time I speak, I ask the question to the room. I say, how many of you have clicked on an ad? And we're all in the news industry, and we're all in the, and nobody raises their hand, and then they all laugh, and then, we all laugh, and it's so funny. But it's not, right? So these platforms have to serve a purpose. And so you come in there and you log in to serve that purpose. So next election is all about elections, and specifically about the ones around you and the ones that are coming up and the people that are running and what people think, and where in a transparent ecosystem, a common digital town hall for a moderated civil conversation about issues that actually matter. Okay, so this is why, for example, you would come in there. So the growth strategy on this side of the ecosystem is to address out of the Facebooks of the world, because of course we're going to be on Facebook and we love Facebook. We are Facebook. Aren't we Facebook? Aren't you on Facebook? I'm on Facebook. Right? I mean, I don't have a problem with Facebook. Right? I love Facebook. I mean, what's wrong with that? That's so bizarre that we think Facebook is the problem. Let's just, find the place where you get what you need. Right? And so that's what we're manifesting. So 1 in 20 people, we believe, are looking for those places and will then, join these platforms, these new ones. And it's completely decentralized. You see, in the entire economy there is a shared economy. And so that's another interesting aspect of it. It's in fiat, right? It will interoperate in fiat with KYC and all those things. It's going to be in the ClearNet, by the way. Everything I said, by the way, just to be clear, is, it has to be KYC compliant. It has to be done in the light. It's not about subverting. We need government, right? I love the roads and I love all the things. It's really great. Government's good. But we must be, sane about these things. And so in the ClearNet, with KYC and all of these things, a new economy is going to be created. And it's going to be a nice, shared, decentralized economy. And it's going to be about certain things specifically. It's not going to be about how do you get 2 billion people and how do we then monetize it like with ads, because that's the only way to take on Facebook. But don't take on Facebook. You don't need to.
Okay, so tell me, like, I can see you're a man who's read many books, and you're well read, and you're, the fact that you're thinking ecosystem, a new economy is very advanced compared to majority of people, who are for most part battling as to, what are they going to do tomorrow or whatever. So tell me, have you come across integral theory? And if so, what are you familiar with it?
I have come across integral yoga, but not integral theory. So, I'm well versed in the yoga side of things, but
yeah. So it's integral theory actually talks about, it's like a theory of everything, and I can highly recommend it to you as something to kind of flick through, and I think it's going to further inspire you to kind of design and construct and architect some of these things, because it talks about different levels of human consciousness that humans evolved through, and then different lines of development as well, and sort of 4 quadrants of how it all applies to our interior, exterior singular, and then plural interior and exterior. So that comes highly recommended. So tell us now, to sort of start slowly wrapping this up. Tell us what you are looking for right now the most. How can people get involved with PressCoin? What do you need as a business to kind of make this reality as soon as possible and reliably as possible?
Well, I mean, the ICO is live, guys. So, go to ico.presscoin.com and, get involved. So that's the number one thing. But otherwise, we are definitely looking for, the writers and the journalists and the content creators, the video, the entire set of the entire community of people that are that intersection that I described. So we're looking to find that seed, layer of people that form that core group in that sense, right? And it has to be an open, decentralized thing. So this is a wide open call. This is truly a global call, right? I mean, this has to be in every country, around the world. So, that's the next thing you could do. If you have, if you know people that, can contribute in meaningful ways and should have a voice and should contribute to this conversation, and people can learn by listening to them or following them or, interacting with them or supporting them, then, this is a great way to sort of do that. The holidays are coming, so this is another way to appreciate what our planet has to offer. This isn't about, blaming anybody. This isn't about any of those things. It's about taking the time to look inside, like you said, and say, hey, where is this media we talk about? It's us. We watch it. Where is this Facebook we talk about? It's us. We are on Facebook. It's confusing to me when people say they did it. There is no they. There is only us, right? And so when you recognize that, it's a very simple thing. You just say, okay, I want to do more of and do more of this. And so help us amplify this very oneness, in a sense, of what you described. Let us amplify this and do it with the digital technology.
So just one more final question, very much from my just for my personal pleasure, so to speak. Out of all the books there that are sitting behind you, which one would you most highly recommend and why? Right this moment, just gut feel.
Oh my God, that's insane. That's a really hard one. How about, okay. This is a really good one. I'm not going to even talk much about it, but it's a fascinating book about a lot of things. It's called Gödel, Escher, Bach.
Wow. Is it like philosophical thing or psychology or a mixture or what?
It's mathematics. It's Zen. It's about it's logic. It's about philosophy. It's about it's just one of the most fascinating books that I've read. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, this is fantastic, really, because like one thing that's super inspirational to me about the whole blockchain and ICO world, and I personally have been kind of tinkering around this for about 3 years now, researching, reading, listening to presentations, even going to like meetups and learning how to write a smart contract and stuff like that. And I've sort of more or less been like kind of scratching my head. Like I bought some Bitcoin, you know, 2 years ago, whatever. I was like, okay, well, I still don't know really what's going to happen here. And I've been sort of scratching my head. And then suddenly there's been this like Cambrian explosion of ideas and startups and so on. And they all seem to be like somehow attracting attention and not thinking like, you know, oh, it's an app that's going to help you deliver a sandwich with one less click, you know. And so it's like, it's actually stuff that's meaty, proper deep level stuff. And so I'm kind of sitting here going like, I got to a point like a year ago where I was thinking, like, internet seems to be finished because like every single idea seems to have been implemented, and like I've worked in like designing and redesigning a similar sort of thing over and over again. I was like, I'm bored of this. Like I want to work on something different and new. And then, you know, you present you know, PressCoin, and I'm like, whoa, this is like a proper kind of stuff that, you know, people should be working on and making happen. And now suddenly I'm like, I feel like I'm back in early 90s when the internet was just about to kick off properly. And I was like, oh, we could build this, we could build that, we could build that. And it's so exciting. So like, just tell me a little bit just more about yourself in terms of, you know, you seem to be, again, like a man who's, you know, reading about maths, about philosophy, and all that kind of stuff. What is your background in terms of like, you know, professional background? How did you end up here professionally?
Sure. My background, you know, before Quintype, which was, as I described to you, you know, digital publishing and you know, marketing systems, new abstraction layer again, you know, it's all about abstractions for the modern publisher, right? The modern business, the modern online thing, which is online, every channel, that thing. That's Quintype. And so before that, I was doing this, I was a part of the founding team of a company called Runa, which was eventually acquired by Staples. And, you know, Runa, I used to joke with the team back then, it didn't actually mean anything when we bought the domain, but we had, you know, ideas back in 2008 that, you know, someday it was an e-commerce, you know, so we were thinking about a reward point and it would be a currency and all these things. So we said, you know, it would sound like a currency. It should sound like a currency. You know, Runa sounds like a currency. You know, so we had bought this domain for a lot of money. And, you know, then later on, we had to give better explanations than that, right? So we came up with the fact that, and it really is the truth, revenue ultimately needs algorithms. You know, as the world has clearly shown, that's so true. Right, so that was Runa. We were helping e-commerce merchants, you know, compete with Amazon. You know, and I'll tell you, don't do it on their turf. You can't win against Amazon. They're the Facebook, Google of that industry. You cannot. There's no need. There is always going to be giant mountains that are, you know, on a planet, and there's no need to say, you know, I will be a bigger mountain than you. Like, it doesn't need to be. You can just take the whole planet. You know,
yeah,
so you can
and
spread your...
in integral theory, there is a statement which talks about transcending and including. Whatever was before, you just evolve above that, transcend it, and include it into your ecosystem. And that's really how you
That's exactly right.
Evolve the new economy, the new way of thinking and
exactly
being.
Right.
So yeah, so
that's exactly right. What happens when you go up, and this is my, you know, design approach ever, you know, when you think about building systems and you think about building components, because, you know, components, the Lego blocks are what give, you know, things flexibility. If you build a monolith, then you've built something. If you build a bunch of blocks, then you can build anything you want, right? So this is fundamentally what I call bottom-up design. And, you know, and I'll just, you know, okay, we can digress into so many conversations, but, you know, But that's kind of the ethos here, right? So PressCoin itself, as you were describing, every time you go up that, level, I call it abstraction. Every time you abstract a layer, you are in a new universe. And if you keep going up that chain, you will be the greatest philosopher in the world.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what the integral theory talks about, because there's integrated into it is a model known as spiral dynamics, which is evolution of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It talks about 8 levels of human consciousness. The bottom one is instinctive awareness, instinctive level, which is about I. Then the second one is magical, which is tribalist, and it's we. Then it goes back to I, which is egocentric, power self, very singular and sort of development of ego. Then there is a level 4 rule role self, which is about these systems, and again it's about us and kind of standardizing where we are. That's where it gives rise to religions and governments and so on. And then there is the goes to I, which is rational superachiever, orange level, which is like I want to win and show the world that I'm the best. And then people rise above that to sensitive self, which is we, green level, which is like let's all live in peace, harmony, love, and it's kind of stereotypical kind of hippie thinking. But each one of those levels is on a non-integral level, so they tend to hate on each other. Looking up, it's like I don't understand these people above me, or looking down, it's like they're lower than me, I'm better than them, and so on. And then people have what's known as a monumental leap in meaning, which when they start integrating, becoming integral thinkers to include all those previous levels of being. And then above that, and the integral thinkers are very much planetary level thinkers, and above that are what's known as holistic people who are thinking much more cosmocentric. And even above that, there is the singular unified self, which is the kind of like oneness with God, and which you mentioned. So that's kind of like the spiral dynamics. I think you'll find that very interesting.
I think that's a fascinating. I'm going to have to read this book right away. But I'll tell you this, for me, it was a very simple journey to understand this for me personally, and anyone can do it because it's the most obvious thing in the universe. It is the most obvious thing, and I'm implementing that obvious thing in PressCoin. I'm digitizing the human consciousness. Because in essence, what we care about is already in our minds, and what we don't care about is also in our minds. So we just focus on the stuff that matters. The stuff that doesn't matter, anyway, is there all the time with us, right? So that's number one. The second way, but to understand, just to go back to your first way to understand this is, which part of the universe is not connected to which other part? Because if it's not connected, it's not in the universe. And if it's in the universe, it's connected, which means that everything is actually connected. So where is the difficulty there? It just confuses me when people say that, oh, that doesn't matter. It all matters because it's all connected. I mean, what isn't connected? It's the simplest of things, is it not? I mean, if you can convince me it's not connected, we can have that conversation, but you know what I mean, right? So.
Yeah, and so this is super cool. Look, Amit, I'm super glad that we spoke, and I'm sure this is just beginning of a long-term relationship as well. So look, thank you so much for dedicating some of your time to this conversation. It's going to remain on our YouTube channel, so many people are going to watch it as subsequent viewers on demand. I wish you all the best with your ICO, and we'll be promoting that in our ICO group as well. And I look forward to seeing this thing manifest in reality, in a sort of physical reality, so to speak. And can't wait to.
Thank you so much. It's folks like you that are making PressCoin happen. Imagine PressCoin, once it's there, you're not just going to be on YouTube and on Facebook. You'll also be on, this new thing, and that'll be you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amit, and I wish you best of luck. Keep in touch, and have a great weekend.
And you.
Bye.
Yes.